Okay, sorry about that there, folks. As soon as I started up the stream, I was like, oh wait, I should use the restroom. Sorry about that. Sorry about being, uh, starting up late here. But nature called right at that particular moment in time. But hey, I'm back. And we're gonna get started on, um, getting some more Pega topics out there. Um, we're going to go through, I believe it's the next challenge that I still need to work on concerning Pega development. Um, also wanted to address, um, I got some more feedback from Pega for one of the suggestions that I made. So I wanted to bring that up on stream. So, well, not on stream, but just wanted to kind of address that a little bit as well. Um, now, um, okay, just making sure everything's kind of in order here a little bit before I switch on over to the live. Um, for those of you that are watching this video later, on my YouTube channel, again, apologies again for the late start. Um, but you can catch this live on YouTube if you're so inclined. I try to stream Pega daily, but you never know. But okay, looks like we are pretty much good to go. So, uh, oh, but it is not. Oh wait, I'm in the wrong scene collection. Haha. There we go. Much better. Okay, apologies for that. Alright, um, like I said, yeah, got a little confused and flustered. Sorry, apologies on that. Okay, so, let's explain this a little bit. Who am I? What are these videos? And what should you expect from them? So first, I'm currently an unemployed software developer trying to find a job. Keep on applying to entry-level jobs because I feel that that's pretty much still my qualifications. I don't really have, I haven't had any stable long-term software development job, unfortunately, and well, just trying to look for work. My last job was concerning Pega development in the Pega environment, and well, um, that ended after the um, I don't know if the just the fact that I haven't been able to they laid me off after a year is like okay, but um but the we were put into a group, like about 12 of us, 12, 15 of us or so. Yeah, I don't know the exact number again. I can't really remember it. But we were basically taught by an authorized training partner about Pega. And well, he wasn't doing a great job. Pretty much all of us went self-study by the end. We weren't really getting much from him directly, so yeah, a lot of us were just like, yeah, no, we're done with this. Some of us was requesting to go be put right back into training to get our certification, but that didn't happen either. The one and only time that, I took my certification, I knew that I wasn't ready, but they were basically said either you take your certification or you have to quit your job. And I was like, well, I don't want to quit my job, so I'll take the certification, knowing that I was going to fail. And, well, I failed. Um, so, but I have not, um, it falls on my shoulders to, continue studying and try to do that certification again, which I did not do. I was kind of hoping for, continued mentorship in some form elsewhere, like being put back into the training again, you know, but that didn't happen. I was basically pushed into contract work, and well, that it is. But I know that I can't get a job in Pega without the certification. No one's really gonna want to try to. I mean, the fact that I had that one last job train me in Pega, it's like, okay, well, you know, apparently I can't seem to get, any kind of mentorship, or at least, you would think mentorship would be something that, most companies should be focused on a little bit, especially for new hires, but nope, apparently not. So, um, and this is me trying to train myself again for the certification for Pega so that I can pass the system architect certification so that I can get a job in as a system architect again. That's the plan. Um, but got a ways to go. So, um, and I'm not an authorized training partner, and this is not meant to be an instructor-led training. So if you feel that I'm either one of those, well, then get that out of your brain because that's not that's not true at all. I don't have all the information about Pega, about this. I'm not a Pega expert. I don't, uh, you know, I don't consider myself one, and no one else should consider me one. I don't have 10 years of experience in Pega or anything along those lines, so don't put that on me. Um, this is also not endorsed by Pega in any way, shape, or form. The most that I have in communication with Pega is I send them suggestions or, like I find problems with their topics or challenges, I send that in for them to try to correct, and that's it. And that's all. I'm um, I never like communicated them with them saying that hey, I plan on doing this. They never gave their blessing on it either. So yeah, there's nothing there. So if you're thinking that I'm getting like huge heap of rewards for doing this or something like that, then no, take that out of your mind as well. Okay, this is not a sponsored stream or anything along those lines. Okay, you know, I mean, if they want to, try to talk about something, then I mean, my emails is available, but you know, that's up to them. I don't really have any kind of control over that. I mean, I could try to ask them if they want, if they wanted to try to sponsor me, but you know, I would imagine that they probably wouldn't. Um, you never know. Weird things can happen. So that's pretty much myself, who I am. These videos are just basically me trying to go through the topics, modules, challenges, and if I have questions, I address them while going over these topics in the hopes that someone with lots of experience, with Pega, whether it's from Pega Academy itself or the corporation itself, or if it's a um, developer that has been the lead for years or a veteran for years and they can answer my questions, you know, would love to get their answers for for the questions that I have. Um, I don't have a ton, but there is times where in some of my videos, especially in the past, I'm not really understanding exactly what they're trying to go for in their topics. So I address these questions. And so, hoping for, a clear answer, you know, that's what these videos are for. If you get some if you get some insight on them, then that's fantastic. I love that. Um, if you're not quite sure about something concerning a particular topic or challenge, feel free to put your comments in, put your questions down. Okay. Um, you know, while it's not always a guarantee that I myself will be able to answer them, um, I encourage you to still put those questions down so that um, others can see that question and might be able to answer it for you. Okay, so while I myself might not be able to answer it, that doesn't necessarily mean that others in the community can't answer it as well. So I encourage comments and questions on my videos. Okay, or right now in my chat. Okay, if you want to put down a question in my chat right now concerning the topic, concerning a challenge, then feel free to do so. Okay, um, I encourage you to do that as well. So, um, but let's get into missions here. Now, um, before we go too far, though, I've already done the business architect mission. Okay, the two missions, two modules here, they're already done. Okay, they're already up on my channel in the playlist. You can go through all the topics, all the challenges, everything that's in there. So feel free to check those out. Okay. Again, feel free to ask questions on those videos. What I do recommend though is that these two modules here, they're from the Pega Express Delivery, and I accidentally clicked on Senior System Architect. Okay. They're from the Pega Express Delivery, those two modules, but they don't really cover a lot, those two modules. So I recommend the Mission Pega Express Delivery um, to kind of go through that. You know what? I'm going to remove the Senior System Architect for now. That always seems to get in the way. I would rather have all three of them side by side like that. There we go. I may go back to the Senior System Engineer or Architect because that typically gives you more of an insight about a system architect. But for right now, it's just kind of in the way. So yeah, these two modules, Pega Express Delivery. Pega Express Delivery is 13% of the certification test. So make sure that you are very much aware of what the Pega Express Delivery. Otherwise, that 13% is going to be a 0% on your score if you don't know what it's all about. So, and if it's, one of the concerns is, well, um, if um, you have the business architect certification exam and you need, what is it, a 70% in order to pass. If you miss 12% of the Pega Express, like completely, like you get zero of the answers out of that 12%, then you're already at 88%, so of your passing score that you have to achieve. So don't do that to yourself. Make sure that you are very much aware of what Pega Express is all about. So otherwise, if you get only 20% of the case management, then you are that close from failing the exam. So doing that, no, don't do that to yourself. Make sure that you are prepared for that. So, okay. But we're going to go into the system architect and we're going to continue on from there. Now last time we did, yeah, the configuring the cascading approval with reporting structure. So now we have the authority matrix challenge next. So let's go ahead and go through that. Go ahead and initialize. We'll go over the scenario here. As the repair service grows, GoGo Road stakeholders want to allow to, we're pretty much the exact same thing. But this time we're using an authority matrix and not the decision table. So there is the challenge walkthrough to go through the multiple steps, but we're not going to be using this. We only use this if the detailed task is not clear. So we're just going to go through the detailed tasks. If there's problems with the detailed tasks, then we'll address them. If not, then we'll go ahead and you know we'll be able to kind of get through all of the we'll be able to kind of get through everything here, clearly, easily. So challenge walkthrough helps with that, if you're not quite sure about the steps. So, but we're not going to be using that. So use it if you need to, but the detailed task should give you everything that you need to know in order to complete the project. So, and they give it to, step by step. So, um, there have been times where I have used the challenge walkthrough if I couldn't really remember the steps that I needed to take in order to complete a task. Okay. Normally that was because of the um, um, like the mission challenges. So, um, because normally the mission challenges will just basically say, hey, you need to, do, you need to complete these, you need to create an authority matrix data structure. And maybe you don't necessarily remember how to go about doing that. Um, so yeah. All right. Here's the instance. So let's go ahead and get that up and running. Um, but this is basically the same as we had last time. So we're going to go ahead and go through that here in just a second. So there's password. There's the author GoGo Road, which is there. So this is pretty much their default. So sometimes they'll have the, you know, different values there, but for the most part, it's not. So, okay. So we just gotta wait for this to load in, and we'll go through the detailed tasks. So, um, if there's any, like I said, if you have any kind of questions or anything along those lines about, um, this process, any of the process, or if there's like a question about, like one particular step in there or something like that, feel free to ask. You know, don't be afraid to ask. Matter of fact, that I kind of encourage that, especially if you go to like the instructor-led training. Which I forgot to mention. If you want to do the instructor-led training, which should have an instructor from like Pega Academy that should know everything that there is to know about Pega, then get your money's worth out of it. You know, $5,000 for the training is not a small amount of money, and it's not a long course. It's like 2 weeks about. So make sure that you get your money's worth. Ask your questions. Take down as many notes, recordings, what have you, as you can. Try to learn as much as you can out of that, so that you can pass the certification with flying colors. So, no, I don't need it to know my location. Don't need it to know, remember the password. Wait for this to load in completely because we're not there yet. As soon as it shows the application layers and everything kind of gets loaded in here, then you know that it's done loading. So, but first things first, we go to Dev Studio, and then we need to click Data Types. In the Data Types pane, click Options, and then Add Data Type. So here we are, Data Types. I click on the options, which doesn't necessarily show itself, right away. So I'm kind of thankful for their graphic here. So just remember, this is their options, and then add data type. So in the add data type window, in the label field, enter vendor approvals. So there's that. In the description field, which is required, by the way, keep the default value as vendor approvals and then click submit. Okay, so as soon as you put vendor approvals in there, the description autofills with the same label. Now, technically, that's terrible. Don't, you know, have more of a description there, folks. Okay. Um, explain what this is all about. You know, what does vendor approvals, what is it about? What it's used for, or what is the intended use for it, that kind of thing. Don't just say, oh, it's the same name as the label. I mean, don't get me wrong. The label is supposed to be as informative as it can, but the description should be like, like the sentence or two more information kind of describing what's its intended use for. Okay, so if anybody ever comes back and says, hey, what exactly is vendor approvals supposed to be all about? They can look at the description and see what it's all about. Okay, especially if it's, some like financial jargon or something along those lines. You know, that you're, as a programmer, you might not know exactly, what it's all about. If the label is like XYZ and the description becomes XYZ, you're not going to know what the heck that's all about. You're not going to know. So make sure that your description is filled in a little bit better than what they give. So, but we need to just, click submit and move on. Um, in the vendor approvals data type, click add field. Okay, here it is trying to build the data type. There we go. Now we need to add field. So there we go. Okay. The field name, enter approver ID. In type list, keep the default value to texting line and then click submit. Okay, so the texting line and then we just click submit. Okay, not a submit and add another. Okay, you know. Click save to save the vendor approvals data type. So it's like, okay, that's the only thing for the vendor approvals? Okay, well, I guess, I guess there's really not much else that you can really do about this. The image here is not showing the fact that it's building this label here automatically. So that's a little different here than what they're showing. But again, they're just wanting you to kind of get through, configuring the authority matrix. So in some ways I get it, but at this other, in another sense, they're, you know, this is showing information here, um, that it's like, well, why is it there? You know, but we're not gonna worry about it on this. So click Save to save the vendor approvals data type, and in the navigation pane, click Case Types and New Vendor. So we're gonna click Save, and then we're going to go to Case Types, and then New Vendor. So in the Data Model tab, click Add Field. So we're looking at our tabs. That's going to be at the very top here. So there it is, Data Model. Okay, now once again, we're going to be adding a field into our list here. So add field. In the field name, enter vendor approvals. And type list is embedded data. So we have field name, vendor approvals, and the type we do embedded data, which is down here at the very bottom. Okay, now we have the data object. Select vendor approvals. So, we can type it in. So, vendor approvals right there. In the options field, select list of records. Not the single record, list of records. So there's that. Click submit to create the vendor approvals data relationship. Click save to save the changes to the new vendor case type data model. So we're not worried about the advanced. Now, personally, I wouldn't necessarily recommend having the field name being the same as the data object, because once again, this field name has basically the same name as the data object. So see how this has vendor approvals here? Well, it's the same as here. So you're using the same ID for two different areas. And while Pega itself might be able to clearly understand the difference between the two, um, it'd probably be in your best interest as a programmer to keep it slightly different, you know, like have, the field name as vendor approvals field name or something along those lines. So you can clearly see, that it's the field name or something along those lines. Just saying. So, but there you go, vendor approvals and vendor approvals. So, um, not to say that it's, like I said, it's not wrong. I mean, it's not exactly wrong. It's not like you can't do that. I'm just saying, should you do that? You know, it's about understanding, you know, what you're putting into your program. Okay. That there's a reason why Pega Academy allows for you to have very distinct field names. You know, you don't have to worry too much about like field names that are like the standard like, oh, you need a variable, well we'll just use X for the temporary or something like that, and that's it. It's like, no, you don't have to do that with Pega. You can have it very descriptive, but I mean, if you're not using that descriptive nature of Pega, then what are you doing? So, um, so we save that, and there's all that. Step one is done. So now we're going on to task number two. So in the new vendor case type, click the workflow tab. So going back here, in this approval process, click step and approve reject. And here, click step, and then we're going to be doing the approval and reject. Um, the name the step approve vendor. There we go. Okay. Click and drag approve vendor step to proceed. Save data and data page step. So moving that above that. With the approved vendor step selected on the general tab of the properties pane and their approval flow type list, select cascading. So we're opening up the pane over here. We're not single level, we want to be cascading. And instead of reporting structure, we're probably going to be needing the authority matrix. So, yep, there's the authority matrix. In the list page property, enter and select vendor approvals. So it was the page list, right? Yeah, page list property. So as you can see, there's a lot here. So be absolutely certain, that you're picking the right one, such as vendor approvals. In the approver property field, enter or select approver ID. So right down there. In the decision table for matrix field, enter vendor approvals as a decision table that determines the conditions for populating the page list. So there we go. To the right of the decision table for matrix field, which is right over there, click the open icon to open and configure the decision table. So we're clicking that to open it up. And now we're done with task 2. We're moving on to task 3. So we're configuring the vendor approvals decision table. So on the create decisions table form, click create and open. So here's the vendor approvals label for the decision table, which again is like you're once again creating more identifiers with the same name. So I personally wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but we move on. Because now you have 3 different basically objects with the same name. So if someone was to say, hey, I need you to go in and change up vendor approvals, how are you going to know what they want you to change? Are they going to ask for the decision table? Or are they going to ask for the data object? Are they going to ask for the um, the data model field? What are they talking about? That's why I'm saying, try to keep it, there's sure, try to keep things, relatively consistent for the most part. You still need to kind of keep them, um, descriptive enough for you to actually understand what they're all about, right? But at the same time, you still need to have them slightly different so you're not going to get, any kind of confusion as to like, which one that you might need to fix or change or modify later on, you know. Um, Especially if even the business architect might not know, you know, like maybe the business architect changes and they're like, well, we need to change the vendor approval. Can you do that? You're going to be looking at them going, okay, which one are you talking about? And they might not know, you know, you never know. So be careful with that, you know, be descriptive. Use that descriptive nature for a reason. So, but yeah, create and open, click the results tab. So, um, wait. Oh, okay. There's the results tab. Okay. And the delegation options section, select evaluate all rows. Okay, so there's that. Click the table tab. So we're going back here. In the conditions column, click the first cell heading to display select a property dialog box. In the property field, select and enter new vendor.name. So dot new vendor dot name, which nothing's coming up for that, right? So that's a little, you know, hope you have that, correct there, but we move on. So in the label field, enter vendor name. Okay, that's, different from the others, so that makes sense. Keep the default operator as equal, and then click Save to finish configuring the condition. So we're saving that and saving that. So there's our vendor name, as the property of .new vendor.name. So, okay. Under Actions, click the cell heading to specify the condition property as data vendor approvals, uh, open bracket, append, close bracket, dot approver ID. So we got a lot to do there. So um, so you know with what they're kind of doing here, it's kind of easy to do a copy and paste, but I would kind of almost recommend that you kind of type it out just so that you can, um, get a little bit more used to, um, the steps that you need to do. Um, you know, so you kind of get it locked in your brain a little bit. Doing the copy and pasting isn't necessarily going to help you out. So you kind of want to make sure that you get the idea of you're using vendor approvals. You have to append it, and then you have to add in the approver ID afterwards. So, and there you go. Now I want to double check my spelling, make sure that I'm not screwing up here. You know, again, while I'm not doing a copy and pasting, I still need to make sure that my work is correct. Now, obviously, if you're doing this, if you need to, have more speed and stuff like that, and you already know what the property is, then I'm sure go ahead and do the copy and paste. But just know that if you're trying to learn this for the first time, copy and pasting doesn't really help you, or at least it doesn't really for me anyway. So in the label field, enter vendor approvals. The label doesn't really matter all that much. You can put in whatever kind of label that you want on there, but again, I don't. They're gonna they're going to set the property value, the ID of this, to once again vendor approvals. So it's like, you know, um, but I mean, at the same time, this might be what you kind of need to do anyway, but um, you know, it's again one of those things where it's like you're reusing the label much too often, in my particular opinion. So, just saying. So default operator is equal, and then we just save it. We're not doing any kind of like default value or anything along those lines. Um, so yeah, there we go. So we're just gonna go ahead and save that. There's the vendor approvals with the property vendor approvals append approver ID. So okay, so we click an empty cell on the table, and then click insert row after icon to insert 2 additional rows. Okay, so we're clicking on that. We're entering 2 additional rows. So there we go. Um, Click each cell in the decision table and then enter the following values. Okay, so unfortunately, I can't necessarily copy and paste from here because, well, this is an image. So not much I can really do about that. Um, so when the vendor name is blank, then we want it to go to the manager at Google Road. So so no results, of course. Manager at GoGo Road. Oh, that might be like a .com as well. So let me verify that. Nope, it's just at GoGo Road. Okay. There's no .com involved in an email. So there you go. Now we have the not equal to TAA. And that goes to the director at GoGo Road. Yep. And then we have TAA going to the compliance officer at Google Road. So compliance officer at Google Road. Okay. And then otherwise is blank. I mean, why they didn't do the manager at Goga Road and the otherwise, I don't really know. Because I mean, you're basically covering everything here. If it's not equal to TAA, you go to the director. If it is the TAA, you go to the compliance officer. If the vendor name is blank, it has nothing there, then it goes to the manager. It's like, well, why not just have it go to the manager down here and there otherwise? You don't really even need this first row there. I don't know. It's a little weird what they're doing on that, but I mean, um, not much I can really say about that. So again, there's a info warning being brought up there, so make sure to try to look into that and see if there's something that you can do to try to fix it. So, so return to the new vendor case type and then click save to save changes to the workflow. So we're going here and then we're clicking save. Because we changed the vendor approvals here. All right, so that's all done. So now we confirm our work. So we're doing the save and run. So we're entering TAA into the name field. There it goes. Okay, so we got the manager there. Once again, manager for approval. And now we have the compliance officer that needs to have the approval as well. And that's it for that one, right? So TAA submit to do session case get approval, click go to display the first approval and then approval view, hover the user icon to verify that the open assignment is assigned to the manager, which it was. Click approve and the to section of the case in the right of get approval, click go to display the second approval and the approval view, verify that the open assignment is assigned to the compliance officer, and then click approve, which they didn't necessarily talk about there. But again, as you can see here, first thing they do is that, it automatically goes to the manager. So that, that gets sent an approval process right at the very start. Then it goes to the compliance officer at Google Road. Now that might be the reasoning why they wanted to do the ordering that they did. Okay, because otherwise it would have said that the compliance officer first has to approve it before the manager. So, so that's probably the reasoning behind this particular ordering that they did there. Again, Um, they probably could have done, um, actually, I don't really know. Maybe there was something that they probably could have done with that, but I guess, if they needed the manager to be first in their approval list, that's probably the best way for them handling that. So, um, all right. So now we're going to go to, having a company that is not TAA. So it's going to be going to the manager and then the director. So, um, so we're going to new vendor. We're going to do save and run. And we're going to put down Pega towing for the, um, to get the manager's approval at the very start there. And then we have the director right afterwards. And that's it. So there's our work confirmed. So we're all done with that. So mark this as complete. No testing. Again, I don't know why they don't do that, but I didn't really encounter any kind of major problems with this particular challenge, so there's really nothing for me to state outright, as a suggestion for them to kind of fix. So it looks like everything's good there. Oh, concerning um, now let me see. We have this one's kind of an older um uh, concerning the email that I got. Okay. Um, the module was creating a rule. The topics was rule sets. Um, and um, you know, there was a suggestion that was made in here that I didn't really understand very well, and I was like going, what do you mean? Um, yeah, I think it was concerning the like the saving, like the best practices. I think it was. I said, so I see this suggestion and I'm a bit confused. Why would someone make a major version update for a server update? So, um, right. So this one, right? Why would the application inherit directly from base class? This is another one. You give ideas but no reasoning behind them. Could you explain to me and within the topic itself? So I was kind of hoping that they could kind of explain to me, you know, why are they suggesting, you know, to update your application server database server to a new major version, you know, if you're creating a, major version of your application, you know, um, they don't really discuss this, as to why it's the best practice to go about doing that, and to create a new rule set with a top level class that inherits directly from base class. It's like, you know, you know, you're giving me, um, information here, but you're not telling me the why, right? That's what, I was basically asking them, hey, could you maybe let me know? And then obviously modify the topic itself so that I'm aware, and other people are aware of, what your versioning rule sets is all about. And well, I got an email saying, thanks for providing honest feedback about the content of the topic rule sets that's not very clear. We apologize for the delay in responding to you. We will make a note of this and try to provide more information in our upcoming updates to this content. So they didn't clearly state why to me on this particular topic, but I guess in later updates they'll try to address this a little bit clearer or more. So, um, which obviously doesn't necessarily help me out. And if they're saying, "Hey, sure, we'll update this in later versions," well, thanks, but could I get that information myself? Could you maybe explain a little bit more for me? So, um, so yeah, that's all. Um, I personally am looking for some more clarity on these two particular versioning rule sets. Why they're suggesting them. You know, um, especially when it's like, well, wait, sh- do you really want um to be creating a new rule set that inherits directly from base class? You know, I mean, unless you're, if you're building like an application from scratch or something along those lines, then it's a little interesting. But I mean, wouldn't you also have like some like a hierarchy in your overall application? You know, um, if um, let's, you know, your application layers, you have different layers um, to your overall application here. Are you really, um, you know, adding rule sets that is so close to the base class? That's all. That's where I'm like maybe that might not necessarily be the best choice, especially if you're like, you're kind of creating an application from within like the organization level or something along those lines. So it's like, you're probably not going to be creating a rule set that's, directly pulling straight from base class, especially if you're skipping a couple additional layers. So that's all. Um, that's why it's like, that's very odd. So, um, consider creating a major version of your application if you update your application server or database server to a major new version. It's like, um, you know, if you're, um, wouldn't you be kind of looking at creating a new application first and foremost before you consider updating your application server or database server? Just saying, you know, if you update your application server and database server, like right away to the major new version, is that not going to break your current application? And if it breaks your current application, then that basically stops all your work on it. You're going to have to hope that the major new version isn't screwing up your current application, to the point where it's going to make everything that you're trying to do, that you're trying to work on, you know, that your um, coworkers are working on doesn't break down. You know, if they do break down, then obviously, you got some. You're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna be looking at you going, "What the heck did you just do?" Right? So, so that's why I'm like, this is a little weird. I feel like the ordering is a little off here. You know, I would imagine that, hey, if you if you know that there's a new major version um, coming out for the application server, or hey, you get informed that the application server, database server, getting a brand new version that you need to update, then maybe you should be working with your application to make sure that it can handle said major new version update before updating. If you update here prior to updating that, I mean, how long is it going to take for you to build a new major version of the application? You know, I remember, I was working, on my last job, and they wanted to update I think they were still like using Pega 7, and they were updating it to 8.6, and um, it was like, well, um, if you suddenly change the application server and database server to 8.6, what's going to happen to your applications that are still in Pega 7? It's going to be able to, is your application server and database server still going to be able to handle Pega 7? Is it going to understand it? Is it going to be able to do everything within Pega 7 properly? Um, so, but you know, they were they were working on you know a major update for the application for 8.6. Um, working it out, getting it rebuilt for 8.6 so that they could put it back in the application server and not only have the same kind of workflows as before, but um, you know should be able to do more later, right? So yeah, that was these two are a little off, but unfortunately they didn't give me any clear answers to that. But that's it. That's where we're going to go ahead and end it for today. So um, I want to thank everybody that was following along. If you're, um, didn't have any chatters today, but that's okay. Anyone of you that was just kind of lurking in the background, I thank you for being there, being that lurker. Um, if you're watching this later on YouTube in my video playlist, then I hope that you help me out with the YouTube algorithm with, the liking and subscribing, and all those other additions. Check out the description for, additional links, social media, links that help me out directly, such as Patreon and Throne. Um, you know, Made a stream team, for uh, fellow streamers and just anybody else that wants to help said streamers. Um, looking for non-streamers as well to kind of help out. Okay, there's a Google document that explains everything about this on the application page, so check that out if you want. Um, um, and feel free to apply. Um, would love to get more members into the team. So, um, So yeah, that's going to be it for today. We got some video uploads to do in just a second, and then we got Phasmophobia later on today. So it might be I might be by myself on this one. Apparently, Blackheart is having some issues with his power, so it might just be me. Look forward to that. So, okay. But that's it for this video for Pega. So, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully, I catch you next time. But until then, take care. Have a good night. Stay healthy. Stay safe. And I'll catch you strangers next time.